The semicircular canals work in a similar way to the cochlea, in that they are membranes filled with fluid. Each semicircular duct has a swelling, the ampulla, where the sensory cells are rooted. The 3 semicircular canals measure angular movement, which in aviation terms can be described as pitch, roll and yaw. The sensory cells have many hair-like projections, covered by a gelatinous structure called the cupula. The cupula fills a cross-section of the ampulla and operates like a swing door, being deflected by the movement of the endolymph in the canal. This movement causes the hairs to be deflected, thereby causing an electrical signal to be sent to the brain along the acoustic nerve, also known as the auditory and vestibulocochlear nerve. This is the same process as we have seen with the basilar membrane. One of the main functions of the semicircular canal system is to cause reflex actions in the muscles of the eye to stabilize its position. Thus, when the head is moved up, the reflex response causes the eye to move in the other direction, so that the image on the retina remains the same. The linear acceleration detectors are the otoliths, which again work on the same principle of hair cell deflection, leading to an electrical impulse. There are 2 otolith organs, the utricle, which lies in the horizontal plane and detects fore and aft movement, and the saccule, which lies in the vertical plane and measures up and down movement. The same method is used for creating electrical messages as in the copula and the cochlea, namely hair movement. These diagrams illustrate how head movement forwards and backwards causes the hair of the utricle to move. They also illustrate how acceleration without head movement produces the same hair displacement. The cerebellum, which receives and interprets these messages, is able to anticipate and compensate for acceleration. For example, when you are about to get off an escalator, muscles will work to push the body backwards instinctively, to avoid losing balance. Apart from the sensory organs in the ear, the body as a whole senses, by its proprioceptive senses, its orientation to the gravitational vertical, as well as the magnitude and direction of imposed linear accelerations. In aviation terms, using the proprioceptive senses when flying is known as flying by the seat of the pants. Needless to say, this sense on its own is unreliable, especially in poor visual conditions. However, this proprioceptive sense is not as fanciful as it sounds, and is known as the physiology of haptic perception. The skin, muscles, tendons and joints contain a variety of sensory organs called receptors. The ones which are sensitive to pressure, vibration and slip are called mechanoreceptors. They provide the brain with information which complements the otolithic signals. Where the signals from the eyes, from the vestibular apparatus, and from other receptors stimulated by motion are at variance with what the central nervous system expects, motion sickness may occur. The mismatch of signals can occur even when there is only mild movement, such as in a gentle roll. Of course, signal mismatch is at its greatest during severe motion, such as aerobatics. The mismatch of signals which causes motion sickness can occur when there is no motion at all, as in a simulator, or even in a cinema, or when a person returns to a non-moving environment, having previously adapted to a moving environment, such as stepping on land after a sea voyage. Vibration can also cause unwanted eye movement, and thereby motion sickness. Motion sickness is a condition characterized mostly by stomach awareness, followed by nausea, pallor, cold sweating, and vomiting. Hyperventilation and headaches are also frequent symptoms. An interesting hypothesis which may explain vomiting and motion sickness is that vomiting has a survival value. The theory is that the brain has evolved to work in a constant gravitational environment. When this does not occur, the body, from prehistory, assumes that the brain is not functioning properly because of the presence of some neurotoxin which should be eliminated by vomiting. Individual tolerance of mismatch varies a great deal. Intolerance is seldom seen below the age of 2 and reaches a peak between 3 and 12. Thereafter, intolerance decreases, but never completely disappears. There are various ways in which the symptoms of motion sickness can be relieved. The head should be kept still, lie down on your back, close your eyes, or focus on a stable datum, such as the horizon, or introduce fresh air. The medicine hyoscine hydrobromide may help relieve the symptoms of motion sickness, as it stops messages from the vestibular apparatus from reaching the receptors in that part of the brain which tells the stomach to vomit. Adaptation is the long-term cure. Being introduced to advanced aerobatics on one's trial half-hour flight is probably not a good idea. A gentle introduction with slow development and repetition is far more therapeutic. This brings to an end our lesson on hearing and balance.